Karl Ravech joins us, ESPN Baseball Tonight, and he's not surprised that Aaron Boone is the next manager of the Yankees. Good morning, Karl.
How are you guys doing today?
We're great, Karl, and we opened up with did Aaron Boone win the press conference yesterday? And I don't think there's any question. No question he did. I'm sure there's no question in your mind that he did.
Yeah, he won the press conference, and he made it quite clear that the way to win Major League Baseball games is to win the clubhouse. And I think that's the strength of Aaron Boone's. He's one of those guys that you play and rally around and want to be with. And I think he made it quite clear that his strength is in relationships. He's demonstrated that since he's been with us for 8 years, and long before that, as a son of a major leaguer and a grandson and playing on different teams. There's very few people, in fact none, that I've ever heard say a bad word about him. He has the ability to relate to anybody, and his confidence in his ability to basically link the front office or management with the field personnel is what 2018 and 19 and the future appear to be as far as what the critical aspects of a manager and characteristics are. He's nails at that.
No doubt he is, and I think you get the feeling. I mean, he knows what the expectations are with this Yankee fan base, especially after what they did last year. Kind of overachieved a little bit. It was kind of a year when I don't think Yankee fans thought they would be one win away from the World Series. So he knows the expectations. He also fully knows what kind of team he inherits, which is a pretty darn good team.
Yeah, he is not walking into a treasure hunt where you open up the chest and it's empty. He knows what they have. The best player in the entire organization may make his debut next year in Gleyber Torres. Brian Cashman somehow gets a little bit lost in all of this, and he looks at this as somewhat of a risk. But he related a story yesterday about how George Steinbrenner came to him without any experience and said, I've heard from a number of people that you are capable of doing this job, and I want to take that opportunity to offer it to you. And Brian took it, and he's been there for over 2 decades. I think in Aaron's case, what once passed as what you need to have with regards to experience at the minor leagues and major league level, look, Alex Cora was a bench coach for a year. Most of these guys have failed in their first jobs. Aaron Boone is set up for success, and people don't forget, but it is not lost in the fact that he not only performed on the biggest stage at Yankee Stadium, but he hit one of the biggest home runs. So the expectations are not new to Aaron Boone. He already wore the pinstripes. He knows what it's like to be there. He knows what it's like to disappoint. Remember, he screwed his knee up playing basketball. So he's experienced every range of emotion in that uniform, and I think that serves him really, really well.
Karl, how much can Aaron Boone benefit from multiple conversations with people in his family who are obviously so tied to the sport of baseball, drawing on not only his past experiences, but everybody else who he knows and is close with who has been down this road?
I spoke to his dad 2 days ago for a long time about who his son was as a child, who his son was as a teenager, a high school student, and whatnot. And, it was really his dad, Bob, who was an all-star catcher for a number of years in Major League Baseball, who first and foremost said, look, the difference between Aaron Boone and so many others is his character. And when he did ruin his knee playing basketball, he called his dad and said, Dad, what am I going to do? And we've all been around athletes who mysteriously fall downstairs or in the shower and rupture an Achilles or ruin a knee. His dad said, what do you mean, what are you going to do? You got to tell him the truth. And it cost him about, $4.5 million and his career with the Yankees, as opposed to lying about something. And no one condones lying, but it happens in that field because these are guaranteed contracts unless you violate what the contract says. So his dad cites his character. His dad was a great catcher. One of the things Boone's got to work on is Gary Sanchez's catching. So to your point, he's got a guy that was an all-star catcher who he can certainly bend an ear about. He's got a guy that still works with the Nationals front office and scouting and player development. He's been around the game. The family is certainly something that he can draw on, but he has so many different relationships with all 30 teams from his experience with ESPN and as a player. There's no one he can't call. And I know I spoke to Buck Showalter the day before as well. Buck sent him a text message. It's a very small fraternity. There's only 30 of these jobs, and if you really want to be honest, there's about, probably 7 or 8 that are on a different level, and he stepped into the one that's at the top of the mountain.
Is he capable of, coming down hard on these players if need be?
That's a, kind of a great unknown, because I don't think these players, especially the ones that are on the team now, have seen that competitive side of him. They know it exists. You don't become a major league player. You don't become a major league manager without that fire. I know he won't have a problem doing it. I've seen it. But whether the player gets exposed to it and is taken aback by it, or they look around and say to themselves, or even out loud, like, "Are you serious? Like, we've never seen this side of you." That's going to have to come from these authentic relationships that he believes he can build. And I think he said it yesterday. Any criticism comes from a place of, we're trying to make you and this team better. None of this is personal. And for a very sensitive group of athletes, and I don't mean exclusive to the Yankee clubhouse, I mean athletes in 2019 and 18, sometimes that's a hard thing to do. But look, Aaron Judge struck out 1 billion times last year. He heard all sorts of criticism. He ended up having one of the great Septembers of all time. So I think if he's your leader in the clubhouse for the next 5 to 10 years, and he can deal with it, that's an important first step for Aaron.
Karl, we carry the Yankees games here on 104.5, the Team ESPN radio, so our listeners care about wins and losses. We know the Yankees fans care solely really about the wins and losses, but Roger will tell you he cares about how a manager or head coach deals with the media. Having been a member of the media, how will Aaron Boone respond to, maybe the harshest market in America with that media?
Well, again, he's been in it, and Aaron Boone is very familiar with social media and Twitter and sitting in that Sunday night booth. While it's very different from being the manager of the New York Yankees, it certainly comes with an option for the viewer to be very, very, very critical. He has read it. He laughs at it for the most part. So he's been exposed to people saying incredibly negative, sensitive things about him. I don't think that his judgments or his decisions are going to be something where if he acknowledges that it was a bad decision, he will acknowledge he made a mistake. He's that type of person. So I don't think that that's going to be an issue for him, and people are going to take shots even if he is successful. That goes with the territory. He's got a real good way about him with his consistency, as he said yesterday. He understands that. That's part of the deal. But look, having been on TV for so long, he can deal with the media. He handles it very well. He did win the room yesterday, and now his goal is to win over the clubhouse and then win over a city. But he took a really good first step yesterday.
Karl, one more for me to let you go, and I would think his first big step here is to get the coaching staff organized and then to find out who's going to be his right-hand man on the bench. You have any inside info on who that might be for Aaron Boone?
No, I know Buster only talked about Eric Wedge. He certainly made it clear to me in conversations before yesterday and after the press conference yesterday, the priority, and it sounds cliche, is to get somebody smart. But Aaron's definition of smart may not be what my definition is or your guy's definition. He has made it quite clear on a priority list. He wants somebody who is open, who is authentic, who is trustworthy. And I think when he defines smart, those are the qualities he's looking for. Aaron, like Buck Showalter before him, like Alex Cora in Boston, like most of these managers, they see things just a little bit differently than most of the average baseball fan or viewer. And I think he wants somebody who sees things on the field, but equally important, sees things perhaps off the field and the dynamic in that clubhouse and how certain guys need analytics and how, let's not bring that to that guy. That to me is what he talks about when he talks about, I need somebody smart next to me.
Karl Ravech, you're smart, and we appreciate everything you do and do a great job. Known you for a long time, and Thanks for coming on Big Board Sports here in Albany on ESPN Radio.
My pleasure, boys. Anytime. We look forward to talking to you again before the season starts.
You got it.
Thanks, Karl.
Thanks, Karl. Appreciate it.